My fellow Rezolvians, welcome back to the channel. Rezolve was down over 5% today. And in this video, we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a look at the institutional option activity. In fact, there was one trade today where an institution bought a $15 call expiring in March of 2026. That is a relatively short-term, very bullish bet. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to talk about briefly what happened in the broader markets today if you missed the prior video. But what's important to understand right now, you're getting some weird shit happening in markets, okay? Today was the weirdest day of all of them so far because you had silver and gold selling off, suggestive of maybe a really strong CPI report coming out on Friday. But then you had stocks that sold off, risk-on stocks that sold off, and treasuries that were bought, aka 10-year treasury yields came down today. So it was a very weird day, and I think maybe, again, if the CPI report was leaked, that could make sense because, let's say, a negative CPI report would suggest the economy's not doing great, and it would also ding gold and silver and stocks quite a bit. So that could be part of it, or maybe just some weird shit happened in silver and gold markets today. They trade over in London. Silver and gold markets are the most manipulated markets in the world. You thought the stock market's bad? No, the gold and silver markets are way worse. Heavily manipulated markets, okay? Maybe that liquidation in those metals caused some fear in stocks, okay? Long story short, I don't think this is the start of the bubble popping, okay? There's been some talk about that recently, and honestly, like, we're not even getting started yet with the bubble, let alone we shouldn't even be having conversations of the quote-unquote bubble popped. Like, this bubble is from 0 to 10, 10 being like you're popping, you're at like a 2, okay? You are in the infancy stages of AI, okay? And, well, there's a long way to go. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, Rezolve AI is the cheapest AI stock on the stock market today. There is no other AI stock nearly as cheap as Rezolve as I have been able to find, okay? Maybe there is one or two out there. I haven't been able to find them. Rezolve is trading at less than 3 times 2026 sales, okay? Just for a little bit of context, Anthropic trading at 40 times 2026 sales, okay? OpenAI is trading at almost 50 times 2026 sales, okay? Big BBAI, SoundHound, Nebius, they're trading between 10 and 30 times next year's sales. So the stock is significantly undervalued. Now, again, in this video, we're going to take a look at the option activity and the news today that came out for Rezolve. Now, Rezolve is a company that I think is in its baby infancy of, where I think the stock is ultimately going to go. And I think next year is going to be a big year for the stock. And we have to understand that this stock is so under the radar right now. You need a catalyst, okay? Rezolve could go up 100% in a day with another big press release about a contract. Maybe Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or Bank of America or whoever it is initiates coverage on the stock, right? There's some analysts that do cover Rezolve, but they're smaller firms. They're not the big dogs, okay? Maybe Nvidia takes a stake. I don't know what it is or what the catalyst will be, but I believe the catalyst is coming. Now, you obviously want to come to your own conclusions, do your own due diligence, all of that as well. And one more thing we will point out before we go ahead and dive into all of the new information today that you need to know if you're in Rezolve or maybe you've been watching this company for a while. The volume today, okay, there was 23.7 million shares that traded hands. This is important. Rezolve relative to other stocks has a fraction of the volume compared to other names. The high of the day today was $5.14. Low of the day was $4.64. We'll use $4.80 as a midpoint. The stock only traded about $114 million worth of volume. Let's look at BBAI and what BBAI did today. Okay, so it was a low volume day across the board. Keep that in mind. So it was really a low volume sell off across the board, which is not something that, in my opinion, you want to fade, right? That's normally a sign that I don't think the selling is going to last all too long, okay? But big BBAI had 291 million for volume, okay? The stock had a high of the day today at $7.83, a low of the day at $6.92. Let's use $7.20 as a middle ground. So BBAI had $1.1 billion that were traded in the stock. 20 times more than Rezolve. Okay? Rezolve is a very volatile stock. That is because there's a lot of insider ownership. There's a lot of institutional ownership that has just, started buying since around August of this year. And there's a lot of early adopters in retail, okay, that are buying and holding the stock. So a little bit of volume for Rezolve causes a lot of volatility. Now, once we start to get, again, a catalyst, we start to get more buyers stepping in, this stock is going to explode with no warning at all. You're not going to have, a couple days to see it coming. The stock is explosive. And all you really need right now is a catalyst to send this thing to the next level. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the meat and bones of this video. I'm going to share my position, the news of the day today, the crazy bullish option activity we had in the stock today, and generally give you my thoughts on this market as it pertains to Rezolve. So hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Check that link out down below in the description of this video if you want to come join the trading community. Now, we're doing this strategy of going out and finding hidden gems in AI, quantum, energy, robotics, AI software, gene editing, biopharmas. These sectors, I think, are going to be in a bull market for the next 10 years. Personally, this is not financial advice, but personally, where I've found the best opportunities are in the smaller companies that Wall Street overlooks. Okay, like Palantir's, Nvidia's, all your big tech names besides Tesla. I think Tesla has a pretty unique opportunity along these same lines. Those stocks are priced in reality, right? You're not going to find information on Apple or Nvidia or Palantir that other people don't know. There's too much analyst coverage. There's too many people that follow those companies. But in these smaller names like Rezolve, you can have valuations, in Rezolve's case, that make no sense at all, that are primed for upside with, in my opinion, limited downside. And that's one big reason why I like Rezolve, why I own so much. But we are uncovering stocks like Rezolve with similar qualities almost every single day, and making trades and or investments around those stocks. If you guys want to come join, hands down the best trading community in the entire world. Nobody holds a candle to the work that we are doing over there. Shout out all the moderators, Brock, Nono, Talon, Connor, just to name a few. You guys are incredible. But that link is down below if you'd like to come join us. And let's get into today's episode. So I know that was a long intro / start to this video. Now, Rezolve, they are a company that puts out a lot of press releases. Now, there was a new one today. It says Rezolve AI is, quote, not a generic AI story. Featured CEO Real Dan Wagner in an in-depth interview about building true rails for agentic commerce, reshaping retail with a vertical AI stack tailored to today's enterprise demands. And I read this whole article and I was like, wow, this actually sounds pretty good. I should bring this to you guys on this channel. Now, it says here, and again, Dan Wagner, I'm sure you're familiar with him. He had one failed business in 2016. He probably had others, but that was the big one. It was about a $2 billion ish dollar company. In the private markets, it wasn't a publicly traded company, so there's big differences in disclosures and auditing standards, and basically the same shit that happens in private markets cannot happen the same way in public markets. But that business went under in 2016, and there was a short report put out that basically said before Rezolve's last earnings that Rezolve is a sham and they don't have any customers, and look at their, Microsoft marketplace account, because Rezolve has partnerships with Google and Microsoft. There was no reviews for Rezolve software. Funny enough, today I was doing a lot of digging on this, and look at this company. It's called UiPath. It's another one that I invest in. Company's well known, been around for a long time. They have 1.7 billion in annual recurring revenue, ARR. They have 0 reviews on Microsoft's marketplace ratings. Okay, their UiPath Autopilot has 3 whole ratings. So, like, if you guys remember the short report that came out on the company, well, yeah, it's basically bullshit. Now, look at even Palantir, for an example. Palantir on Microsoft's marketplace has 12 ratings, 12 reviews. So, yeah, if you guys were a little scared about the whole Fuzzy Panda short report when that came out, they literally made something out of nothing. Okay? Palantir, by all means, has 12 reviews on the Microsoft marketplace. Okay? Just to show you how ridiculous a lot of that short report was. Now, let's let bygones be bygones. We understand the short reports from Fuzzy Panda and the other one, Grizzly Research, were BS to begin with. Now, let's start here. It says Daniel Wagner is an e-commerce veteran and serial entrepreneur. Decades before the internet was commercialized, at the age of 20, Daniel created the first online information service, MAID. He built the business into a global market leader before it was sold to Thomson Reuters. In 1998, he founded Venda, an enterprise e-commerce innovator that developed a cloud commerce platform for major retailers like Lands End, Tesco, Hobo, TJX Companies, Neiman Marcus, and many more. After becoming a European market leader, Venda was sold to Oracle in 2014. As CEO of Rezolve AI, Wagner is now pioneering agentic commerce, a vertical AI stack built for the retail industry. The platform leverages a proprietary large language model and strategic partnerships with Microsoft and Google to automate and enhance the entire commerce lifecycle, from discovery to settlement for its enterprise clients. Okay, so a little bit more of a backstory on Dan Wagner. Sounds a lot more impressive than Power Technologies that went bankrupt in 2016. Now, the question here was, what made you acquire both SmartPay and Subsquid now, and why was M&A better than partnering? And Dan Wagner says, we're executing on agentic commerce at a global scale to search, decide, transact, and settle in real time. You need payments and data as first-class controllable rails. SmartPay brings proven stablecoin payments infrastructure with meaningful USDT volume, and Subsquid brings a decentralized data layer that's fast, verifiable, and cost-efficient. Owning these capabilities lets us co-design with our BrainPower AI and BrainSuite, align service level agreements, and move at our own cadence. Partnerships don't give you that level of determinism. Next question. What is the most challenging part about integrating SmartPay and Subsquid, and how do you avoid disrupting existing users? He says, integration should feel invisible to customers. That means maintaining API continuity while we expand capabilities, unifying authentication and compliance, ensuring robust observability, and executing zero downtime cutovers. We run phased migrations with shadow traffic, preserve capability, and align KYC, AML risk, and fraud controls. We have dedicated joint squads focused on integration quality, not just speed. And he also asked the question, walk us through a transaction on Rezolve, from search and personalization to checkout and settlement. Where do SmartPay and Subsquid plug in? From discover, A user sees brain power results using retailer content and context, which is enriched by Subsquid's data layer. Decide. Agentic flows evaluate availability, pricing, promotions, and eligibility in real time. Transact with the brain checkout that handles the instant checkout, while SmartPay orchestrates the tender stablecoin rails, multi-asset support, and inline risk management or risk assessment. Settle. SmartPay completes the settlement, and Subsquid provides verifiable event streams back into our analytics to improve the next decision. So it's like a big circle where Subsquid and SmartPay really do help link the whole thing together. Now, there were also these two questions that were asked, and just for time's sake, we're going to skip past them. It says, how do SmartPay and your Tether partnership enable the merchant fee-free payment model you're promising? It also says Subsquid is described as your decentralized data layer for AI reasoning. How will its network enhance personalization across Rezolve's retail ecosystem? We're going to skip to this. It says Rezolve's ARR grew from 70 million to 90 million in one quarter. Which segments or partnerships contributed most to that surge? It says enterprise retail adoption is accelerating. That's big, okay? Enterprise retail adoption is accelerating. That sounds like something he's saying in real time, right? For an example, if you were Rezolve and maybe before earnings you had a lot of demand and then it dried up, right? Short report, whatever the case is, it dried up. This is not the case. Dan Wagner is saying this in like this is happening in real time, right? Enterprise retail adoption is accelerating. Larger multi-banner deployments, customers moving from pilot to production, and the amplification from our go-to-market strategies with Microsoft and Google all contributed. We're seeing the platform effect as usage scales. Huh? That sounds good as hell, okay? I don't know about you guys, but I read that as things are going great over at Rezolve. Now, there's another question here. It says 6 research firms just raised their price targets after your results. What do they understand about Rezolve AI that the broader market might be missing? Dan Wagner says, quote, they see that we're not a generic AI story. We have a vertical large language model and agentic stack explicitly built for retail, significant distribution leverage with Microsoft and Google, and improving unit economics as data and payments move in-house. SmartPay and Subsquid turn former dependencies into core advantages. We're golden. We're golden here. Okay? We are literally golden. Now, the last thing I want to read here, I'm going to skip a couple of these just again for time's sake. It says Rezolve is still pursuing M&A, but is focused on capital efficiency. What's your playbook for future acquisitions? Dan Wagner says, we acquire where it builds our rails in distribution, data, or payments, or accelerates agentic commerce with a clear margin impact within 12 to 18 months. Targets must fit our BrainPower AI and Brain Suite without heavy rewrites. We use disciplined structures, milestone-based consideration, and integration-led value creation to avoid unnecessary shareholder dilution. Basically, what they're saying is, if they can't buy a company and almost instantly implement it into the existing stack of software that Rezolve offers, they're not interested, right? So for an example, Rezolve's not going to be buying, you know, like a shoe company. Okay, just I can't think of anything related to like large language models or something at this point. But yeah, they're not going to buy shit that isn't going to help Rezolve with their main mission. Okay. Now, keep in mind the company has over $200 million in capital. I don't think a dilution round is coming anytime soon. Nothing like that. But this is something Wall Street is always kind of wondering with Rezolve is what's the next acquisition? For good or for bad. Some acquisitions are going to be seen as maybe the markets don't understand them. And I think that was SmartPay and Subsquid. I don't think Wall Street really understood how beneficial those acquisitions were or will be for the company, whereas, others might be a little easier for Wall Street to understand. So that was the big news today. And really what I got out of it is Subsquid and SmartPay were great acquisitions by Rezolve. Again, they bought those two companies for $10 million plus a million shares, which equals about $15 to $16 million total. So they still have a ton of cash, minimal dilution to get those assets. It seems like a win-win to me. Again, I don't think Wall Street fully understands what Rezolve is trying to do here. Rezolve is very much an under the radar kind of stock. You need some news. You need a catalyst to really get this thing moving in the upwards direction. And right now, the opportunity is in retail investors' hands. Now, the other thing I got out of that is things sound like they are smooth sailing with Rezolve. Okay, it doesn't seem like anything's changed. It seems like the company is continuing to execute. Now, we did have some option activity today. So over on Ortex, you have the interesting flow sentiment that shows two different trades totaling $102.66 thousand with a positive order value of 100%. Okay, on Monday, you had one trade totaling $54,000 with a positive order value of 100%. And that was a January 14th, 2027 $5 call that took place yesterday on Monday. But today, you had a January 14th, 2027 $3 call worth $48,500. But look at this. This is a May 14th, 2026. So relatively short-term contract, 7-8 months time on this. The $15 strike. $15 strike. Just to get to $15 from here would be a 300% rally. If I'm doing my math on this correctly. Okay. Yeah, it would be, it'd be a 218% rally to get to $15 per share. Okay. Somebody just took a very bullish bet on Rezolve. Now, again, what's happened to Rezolve recently, what's happened in the broader markets has nothing to do with Rezolve. Okay? I own a lot of other stocks right now. High quality names, low quality names, high risk, low risk, doesn't matter. They're pretty much all selling off. They've pretty much all been selling off. Nothing negative has specifically happened with Rezolve. Nothing has changed. My thesis on the company has not changed. In fact, the only thing that's changed is you have a much better deal in buying the stock today than you had before. Keep in mind, Citadel bought $100 million worth of Rezolve at $6.67. The latest price targets on Rezolve, one of them was $15 per share over the next 12 months. Another one was $12.50 over the next 12 months. A couple of them were $10 per share over the next 12 months. And all the rest, the lowest price target on Wall Street for Rezolve is $7 a share. You're getting, that's like a 70% rally from here just to get back to 7. I believe, if my math is correct, 50% rally to get back to $7 a share, right? As the stock comes down, if you can see through the emotional crap and shit that's happening in markets, significant upside could be on the other side of things. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. Obviously, like, shit can happen. There can be, prolonged downturns in markets. And obviously, I don't know exactly what's going to happen next. I don't know exactly why gold and silver sold off so aggressively today. But again, when I look at Rezolve specifically, I see a very strong end of the year rally and a massive rally in 2026 coming. As I've talked about before on this channel, this stock should really trade at probably 15 to 20 times sales, just kind of in line with other AI stocks. 15 times sales times the 500 million guidance for next year is a $7.5 billion company. The company today is $1.4 billion. Okay. So that means the stock should really be about 5.35x higher. Means the stock could be reasonably valued at over $20 a share, almost $25 a share. If you wanted to be more conservative, you could say, you know, a $5 billion valuation makes sense. That's 10 times sales for next year. 10 times 500 million is 5 billion. Okay. You could say that's a reasonable valuation. Divided by 1.4 billion gives you 3.57x higher times the current share price of $4.62. And you're at $16.50 per share. The stock just does not have a lot of attention on it, right? I like to buy stocks before everyone loves them. Now, if you're someone that likes to buy stocks only when they're ripping higher, then that's your strategy. I like to buy stocks that are high quality, that are in massive growth fields like AI and retail AI, like Rezolve, before they're hyped. That's where you get the largest returns as I've seen. And again, volume is back to pretty low levels, right? There was only 11.2 million shares that traded hands today. That's back to like, you know, back in the day, if you will, with Rezolve, when the stock was $2-3 a share. There's just not a lot of people looking at the stock. And I view that as an opportunity. I view that as a green flag. Okay. One, because I think AI is going to be alive and well over the next 12, 24, 36 months. I don't think this quote unquote bubble has popped. I think you're very early stages in AI. And I think it's far too early for any kind of bubble to pop. So with that, I continue to buy the stock. Now, before I forget, let's go over the position I have in Rezolve. Current market value, $64,680 in this portfolio, currently up 55.85% or up $23,179. Average cost basis, $2.96. I own 14,000 shares. It is 38.5% of this portfolio. So we got 14,000 shares there. In public, I have 14,000 shares. Average cost basis, $3.24 a share. Total returns 42.5%, up $19,277. Current market value close to $65,000. Again, I've been invested in this stock for 123 days. Okay. Now I also have those 15 options, those 15 Rezolve 250 calls for February 20th, currently going for $240 a piece. Current market value $3,600. Total return about 129% or up $2,025. So add 14,000 plus 14,000, you get 28,000 plus 1,500 as far as the options are concerned. Plus I have 1,000 shares in Webull and 1,300 shares in Thinkorswim. Honestly, I haven't looked at that in those shares in a long time. They're just bought and held. That means I currently have 31,800 shares in Rezolve, times by the current share price at $4.62. That means I have $146, almost $147,000 in the stock. As I've said before, this is either going to be a multi-million-dollar position at some point in time, or this is going to be a six-figure loss. But I really like the risk-reward, especially as this stock gets cheaper and cheaper. When I first bought this stock, it was trading at about 10 times sales, roughly 7 to 10 times sales when I first started buying. Now, based on 2026 numbers, it's trading at less than 3 times sales. So yeah, it's like 3 times cheaper than when I first bought it. So dollar for dollar, like you're getting a much better deal on Rezolve today than even when I bought the stock at $2 some cents. So for anyone that like asks why I don't cover Rezolve every day, again, when there's news, I want to cover the stock. But like, I'm not going to secretly sell the stock like without saying something. Like if I ever sell Rezolve, I will make a video on that. Obviously, you guys should do what you want to do with your position, but why would I sell a stock that is now 3 times cheaper than when I originally bought it? That doesn't make any sense logically, okay? Makes no sense at all. You're one catalyst away, in my personal opinion, from going absolutely parabolic. Like, this stock could double in a day with the right news. It could go up 200-300% in a day with the right news, just how undervalued this company is. So again, that is gonna conclude this video. We actually have another video coming out later tonight on a brand new stock that I actually bought about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but went up like 70% today, and I think there could be a big opportunity with that one as well. So stay tuned to the channel for that one. That video is coming out at about 8-9 p.m., something like that. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.